And I now give the floor to His Excellency Teburoro Tito, head of the delegation of the Republic of Kiribati.
President of the General Assembly, Secretary General of the United Nations, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to greet you all on behalf of the President, the government, and the people of the Republic of Kiribati. At the outset, I wish to join other delegations in congratulating Your Excellency, Mr. Philomena Yang, the government and the people of Cameroon on your election as the President of the 79th session of the United Nations General Assembly, and to assure you of Kiribati's full support and cooperation as you steer our work over the next 12 months. We also acknowledge with gratitude the effort and work of the outgoing President of the 78th session, His Excellency Dennis Francis of Trinidad and Tobago, for his leadership for the past year. It is with immense pride and a deep sense of responsibility that Kiribati stands before this assembly, marking the 25 years of its membership of the United Nations. A quarter of a century ago, on 14 September 1999, Kiribati joined this esteemed body and became the 186th member of this UN family. Believing that the challenges we face as a small island nation are inextricably linked to the fate of the global community. As we celebrate this milestone, we honor the path that we have walked with our global partners. And we reaffirm our commitment to the core principles of the United Nations: peace, justice, human rights, responsibility, and respect, and sustainable development. Mr. President, the theme for us now, leaving no one behind and acting together for the advancement of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for present and future generations, cannot be more relevant and timely as global conflicts escalate, causing widespread destruction, displacing people, and leaving millions neglected and marginalized. The theme reminds us that despite the ongoing crisis, we must stand firmly together as responsible leaders and representatives of the 193 member nations of this greatest multinational organization, and recommit ourselves to do together whatever is necessary to get the world back on the path of peace, progress, and prosperity. Mr. President, what we witness in the world today and for the past 79 years suggests that the Founding Fathers' inspiration for lasting peace is far from being realized. The theme is therefore a timely reminder not to lose hope over the heartbreaking scenes before us, but to re-energize our unity, solidarity, and collective determination to overcome the forces that stand against multilateralism that our United Nations family embodies. This is why Kiribati reaffirms the critical importance of reinvigorating multilateralism. the United Nations must remain the central platform for collective and global action, as no single nation can address the complexities of today's challenges on its own, be it pandemics, terrorism, conflicts, human trafficking, climate change, to name a few. Mr. President, it cannot be disputed that the UN that was created in 1945 by 51 founding members to restore and maintain world peace and security out of the ash and devastation of World War II has now become the largest international organization on earth that deals with all aspects of human livelihood and well-being to such an extent that its core function of maintaining world peace and improving living standards has been greatly thwarted. This is further exacerbated by the lack of unity and solidarity among member states, coupled with a persistent lack of respect for the UN Charter and for the rights and sovereignty of nations under the Charter. The apparent lack of unity and solidarity within the membership of this family is very much evident in the inability of members to stand united on issues of common concern, the increasing polarization of global issues, and the proliferation of exclusive groupings which tend to breed more disunity and distrust among members. Mr. President, the success or failure of the United Nations in its core mission depends not only on the dedication, commitment, and persistence of its leadership and membership, but also on the quality of the collaboration between the two. The theme is a reminder of the need to gauge the performance of the United Nations against its core mission of maintaining world peace, improving living standards, and the promotion of human rights and freedoms. In this vein, our collective deliberation at this 79th session must shape a more effective path for the United Nations, ensuring it meets the pressing challenges of our time and serves all nations equitably. Considering the significant disparity between the United Nations' intended mission and its actual outcomes, an in-depth analysis is needed to explore why the organization has not been successful in preventing and resolving conflicts. It is important that the root causes of these failures are identified and addressed. Equally important is the need to stress the crucial role of the UN Secretary-General, jointly with the P5 members of the Security Council, in putting a stop to ongoing conflicts and in preventing new ones from erupting. On the Security Council reform, Mr. President, in order to make the United Nations fit to deal effectively with new and complex challenges confronting humanity at this time, Kiribati supports the call for an overdue reform of the Security Council to ensure that it reflects the realities of today's world. We believe that permanent membership of the Council should be expanded to be more inclusive and representative, including allowing seats for small island developing states and the other vulnerable countries, so as to ensure that the perspectives and needs of the most vulnerable nations are heard and addressed. Mr. President, my country firmly believes that members' respect for the UN Charter and for each other's rights and sovereignty is key to the peace of the world and to the efficient and effective functioning of the United Nations multilateralism. It is therefore paramount importance that each one of us recommit ourselves now to fully respect the Charter and each other's rights and sovereignty. Of equal importance is a renewal of faith and trust in each other as members of this United Nations family. On peacekeeping and international security, Mr. President, peacekeeping remains a cornerstone of international cooperation for maintaining global security and stability. Kiribati is grateful to have contributed to this effort by deploying police personnel to support the United Nations peacekeeping mission in South Sudan. Kiribati remains steadfast in its belief that global peace can only be achieved through collective action, and we will continue to play our part in this regard. Mr. President, Kiribati firmly believes that a country without peace, as is now seen in the case of countries that are currently devastated by wars and conflicts, cannot undertake any meaningful development while their people are deprived of enjoying a normal way of life and forced to live in refugee camps or as homeless people surviving through charity and humanitarian donations. People living in such dire conditions have no way of becoming economically productive in order to feel a sense of human pride and dignity, and cannot voluntarily free themselves out of such a predicament until the conflict has been resolved. Peace restored and life is back to normal. In other words, development and human dignity are not achievable without peace. Peace must be achieved first. On the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, Mr. President, Kiribati's unwavering commitment to global peace is deeply rooted in the tragic history with nuclear weapons. As a nation that has witnessed harsh and destructive, long-lasting consequences of nuclear testing, Kiribati remains steadfast in our support for the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, a landmark agreement that represents a collective effort to eliminate the threat of nuclear weapons from our world through complete nuclear disarmament. And we stand in solidarity with the other states in advocating for a world free of nuclear weapons. Mr. President, Kiribati recently launched its first ever foreign policy during its 45th National Day celebration on 12 July this year. This landmark document principally seeks to enhance the policy objectives that the core pillars of Kiribati's vision for 20 years. It captures the way forward on how we seek to engage effectively and strategically with our partners in areas of shared and mutual interest. And it seeks to develop our nation and people, while at the same time protecting our right to self-determination over our huge ocean and airspace territory. Mr. President, let me at this juncture highlight Kiribati's views and perspectives on some pertinent issues for small islands, such as climate change and sea level rise, the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals, marine conservation and protection, and the Pact of the Future, and on the crucial link between peace, sustainable development, human dignity, and the concept of leaving no one behind, as highlighted in the theme. Mr. President, Kiribati's designation as a least developed country reflects not only our economic challenges, but also our acute vulnerability to climate change. Kiribati's geographical isolation from world major markets, coupled with the volatility of global commodity prices and the increasing frequency of extreme weather patterns, exacerbates our development challenges. The high cost of imports, limited export opportunities, and reliance on fluctuating external markets further strain our efforts to achieve sustainable growth and development. Our graduation status from the LDC category, which had been deferred to a later date, remains at the back of our minds and what it would mean for us in the future, given these unprecedented challenges. It is for this reason Mr. President, among others, we recognize the Multi-Dimensional Vulnerability Index, MVI, potential as a more fitting measure of vulnerability for all developing states. On climate change, Mr. President, we believe that humanity must be well informed about the riches and the resources of the planet that are finite and must not be overexploited to the extent that the planet's Earth's health and wealth is compromised, as is now evident in the climate crisis caused by the overexploitation of the planet's resources during the past century of industrialization. While the international dialogue on climate change has been extensive, Kiribati urges that we move beyond words to concrete action. The commitments made in the international forums, including the COP meetings, must translate into tangible results on the ground. As we continue to advocate for mitigation, it is clear that adaptation and resilience building are critical for low-lying atolls like Kiribati. Coastal protection remains a priority for Kiribati, and while adaptive measures such as the planting of mangroves and demarcating of seagrass continues, there is a dire need for interventions in hard infrastructure such as resilient seawall. Climate change is undeniably the driving force behind sea level rise. Kiribati continues to grapple with the challenges posed by sea level rise, which endangers our land, agriculture, and our way of life. The IOC's declaration on sea level rise and statehood encourages our dedication to building resilience against climate impacts and emphasizes the urgent need for global action. The United Nations recognition of the profound impacts of climate change and sea level rise through the establishment of high-level platform to address sea level rise during this session is a notable and welcome step. It reflects the urgency of addressing climate change and its devastating consequences on vulnerable communities worldwide, in line with the commitment of the 2050 Blue Pacific Strategy. We strongly advocate for global climate action, including maintaining the 1.5 degree Celsius goal and addressing sea level rise as essential to safeguarding the livelihoods, identity, sovereignty, and security of the Pacific Island communities, especially low-lying atolls, which are only 2 or 3 meters above sea level. On sustainable development goals, Mr. President, as we continue our journey towards achieving sustainable development goals by 2030, Kiribati has localized SDG in a 20-year development roadmap or vision called KV20, with its primary aim to make Kiribati a healthy, wealthy, and most peaceful nation by 2036. This localization effort ensures that the SDGs are not merely theoretical goals that are embodied in our national policy projects and initiatives. Sustainable development is crucial for the long-term resilience and prosperity of Kiribati and other small island developing states. However, the realization of these goals require enhanced capacity development, technology transfer, and stronger data support systems to better meet the unique and special circumstances of vulnerable countries. Kiribati also commits and looks forward to the implementation of the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda, ABAS, focusing several key areas aimed at promoting sustainable development, resilience, and addressing the unique challenges faced by small and developing states, such as climate change, resilience, sustainable economic development, access to financing, biodiversity, conservation, to name a few. ABAS reflects the need for tailored solutions that recognize the unique circumstances of states while promoting sustainable development and resilience against external shocks. On marine conservation and protection, Mr. President, fisheries continue to hold prominence as a priority sector within our KBS vision for 20 years plan. Given that ocean resources are significantly contribute largely to our economy. Kiribati's huge reliance on the tuna fishing license revenue, which finances about 70% of the government's annual expenditure budget, makes it mandatory for the government to take special care of the health of the marine environment, as evidenced in its adoption of the marine spatial planning of its entire 3.5 million square kilometer of its tuna-rich ocean resource. In order to promote public awareness and participation in marine protection and conservation, a number of programs have been launched in some villages and communities in which people are encouraged to make village-based rules protecting fisheries in the areas against overexploitation and sanctioning offenders in accordance with well-accepted cultural practices. However, our limited capacity in monitoring the surveillance of our large economic zone are highly susceptible to illegal, unregulated, and reported fishing, IUU, fishing expeditions. Considering our heavy reliance on our fisheries for livelihood and revenue, Kiribati remains deeply concerned about the ongoing challenge of IUU, which undermines not only our national effort to sustainably manage marine resources, but also global progress towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. IUU fishing significantly impacts our national economy by depleting fish stocks, undermining sustainable fishing practices, and reducing revenue for local fisheries. This threatens the economic stability and the livelihood of our people dependent on fishing. We acknowledge the assistance of our partners rendered in addressing this gap and in providing the surveillance support. Kiribati calls upon the international community to strengthen cooperation and action to combat IUU fishing, ensuring that sustainable fisheries management become a reality for all nations, especially those most vulnerable to its impact. Kiribati is acutely aware of the profound significance of the ocean to our livelihood, culture, and environment. And this is why we invest a lot of effort in the preservation and protection of our marine environment. On the Pact of the Future, Mr. President, Kiribati applauded the Secretary General for his great initiative for bringing the whole world together to re-energize the United Nations as it approaches its 80th year anniversary, so that it remains relevant and vital for the peace, progress, and prosperity of humanity in the future. The proposed Pact for the Future offers an essential roadmap strengthening global cooperation on key issues including climate change, digital transformation, and peace building. We fully support the development of the Global Digital Compact, which will help bridge the digital divide and ensure that small island developing states like Kiribati are not left behind in the digital age. It is vital that the international community takes bold steps to strengthen global governance mechanisms, fostering inclusive multilateralism that benefits all countries, particularly the most vulnerable. We believe that the success of these initiatives will be key to achieving sustainable development, peace, and security for future generations. Mr. President, as I conclude, I express our hope for the future. Kiribati family believes that together we can unite in action and commitment, ensuring that no country is left behind in our pursuit of a more sustainable and in a world where peace, sustainable development, and human dignity are advanced for the present and future generations. Let us make the 79th session a time to renew our unity, solidarity, and togetherness for the advancement of peace, sustainable development, and human dignity for present and future generations. We believe that together we can make it, and together we can do it. Thank you.
Je remercie.
I thank the head of the delegation of Kiribati,